Welcome to Content Led. Today we've got an absolute crash course on how to do content exceptionally well. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate.
Now, you've done pretty well on the content space, especially on TikTok. You've got almost 17,000 followers.
Yeah.
Close to 750,000 likes across all of your videos, which is pretty staggering if you think about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
Yeah.
Yeah, exclusively in New Zealand. That's a lot of people liking your videos.
It's huge. I was running the numbers just before, and it's like just under 20% or something like that that's actually liked your videos or actively engaged in your videos. If you take New Zealand's population at 5 million, which is crazy.
Yeah, and some of the videos had a couple million views just in New Zealand, which if you think about it, it's like half the population. So crazy.
So you're a well-known figure now in the insurance space or the finance space in general. Do you get people stopping on the street?
I did for a while. I haven't made a lot of videos for a wee while, but when I took it pretty seriously for like a 6-month period, because I was like, hey, how big can I grow this and how much following can I get just based off like TikTok videos or Instagram reels. So it was just really a personal challenge to myself. And during that time, I managed to like ramp it up to a point where each video was getting 200,000 or 300,000 views. And at that point, I'd walk down the street all the time and people would be like, oh, it's the TikTok guy or Ethan. And it was really crazy to think about that after just such a short time span that people would recognize you and actually want to come up and have a conversation about things.
So you gave it a go for a full sort of 6 months?
Yeah, that was where I posted like, I think I got up to maybe 250 videos on my account. So I was posting pretty much, I was posting pretty infrequently. And then it got to a point where I was like, every single day I'll be posting a video. And that's when the real traction like started, when people would see you every day and you'd constantly. So I think when someone sees you every day, they feel like they almost know you. And that's when you get recognized out and about.
Where did the idea come from?
So there was no downside to people knowing who I was. So I looked online at all these big influencers that had these massive followings and just basically what they were getting out of their followings or the value they were providing people online then led back to them having a huge impact in their industry.
Yeah.
So like for me, a lot of people have no idea about anything insurance related. So if I can provide them some value online, then that's good for me, good for our brand, and really, ultimately, probably the best for them.
Yeah, 100%. And we're seeing that more and more now, like these days as well. Like we're seeing the rise of creator-led businesses. Yeah. So people like Mark Rober with Crunch Labs, like he's built a YouTube channel. It's got like tens of millions of subscribers. And on the back of that, he launched his product.
Yeah.
And it immediately took off. So that's kind of the same theory here, right? Like you started doing these TikTok videos while you still had your day job.
Yeah.
Right?
100%,
and then you left your day job to then start Gerrards. Like, were there any challenges with your employer at that time when you were like, because you were making these videos? Like, were they all for it, or were there restrictions? Were they not as happy, or did they just not care?
No, they definitely cared. So it was tough being employed because, of course, like when you're working for a company, especially like a large corporate, they have their brand and they're very protective of that. So for starters, I wasn't allowed to be affiliated with them in any respect.
Right.
And then secondly...
Which is good for you because then that allows you to build your brand anyway. Yeah,
it was good for me, but it still meant that every time I posted a video, they'd watch it. There'd be a lot of oversight. There'd always be questions about why I did that because I just roll with things. If I have an idea, I just do it. So, not everything works out. Some videos you post and then afterwards you're like, probably that was the best thing to post, or that was some good advice, but maybe then insurance companies now not going to like that you posted that advice because it's not good for them and things like that. Whereas they got really caught up in every little thing that I put out there.
Right.
So eventually it became such a mission that I just paused it all together and waited till I was out on my own. So it's very tough when you're in that environment. You really need an employer that backs you, but unfortunately mine didn't.
Interesting.
They just didn't see the value in it,
Which is fascinating because like at the moment we're seeing a massive rise in user-generated content, which is content created usually by other employees or customers. Yeah. And those two alone are having the biggest impact for conversions for most. It's mostly B2C brands, but for businesses in general. So I find it quite interesting that in New Zealand especially, we find that businesses are quite reserved on the content front.
Yeah.
Because either they're afraid of saying something wrong, or they're afraid of having a wrong image, or just creating a bit of a putting their opinions out there and getting bad feedback in general. So with your videos that you put out on TikTok, did you have any sort of trolls or people coming back to you with comments or things?
Absolutely. You get that on. I think that's just part of the nature of the business. I'd probably every video I'd have 50 different troll comments about all sorts of ludicrous things. But at the end of the day, if they're sitting there wasting their time writing that stuff, I mean, it's not really a concern, is it?
Yeah.
Obviously they've got nothing better to do than troll you on the internet.
How'd you deal with it? Did you just reply back with another troll comment or just ignore it?
No, I just don't really care about it, so I just ignore it completely.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one because I find that a lot of people hold back because of that very reason, because they're afraid of some sort of fear of rejection or being told that they're wrong, something along those lines.
Yeah, well, you're the one that's sitting there, putting yourself out there. Where they're the
100%.
ones sitting in their
Yeah,
bedroom
yeah.
writing you this comment. Like, who cares?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think there's really nothing to lose on that front either.
No.
I think there's a lot to gain.
And to be honest, I actually preferred the videos that I got the most troll comments on. This is really fascinating. Were almost like my most viewed videos because they're the type of people that would for instance, the algorithm looks at the amount of comments and likes you get. So if you're getting lots of comments, so you might say a word wrong or pronounce a word wrong, and then you'll be 300 people that come in and say, hey, that word's pronounced wrong. And you're like, okay, cool. I was trying my best. That's fine. The word's pronounced wrong. But since that got that many comments and that much engagement, then it automatically shared that video 10 times more than it would have anyway. So they're actually
100%.
helping you. It's even better.
You just leverage them.
Exactly. So you're almost better to purposely make a mistake in your video and have people comment, because then you're going to get more views and reach more of the people you're trying to impact. So.
Yeah. Do you remember the first piece of content you ever made, or the first video you made?
Oh, yeah, I've watched it a few times and had a bit of a chuckle. It's
Is it online?
Yeah, it is online. Yeah, I made some video about restricted drivers in New Zealand and taking passengers and what the implications are if they crash.
Right.
I think it got 100 and something thousand views, and that was the reason I probably got hooked in the first place. But yeah, that was when looking back, I was like, how on earth did that video do well? 'Cause it was absolutely terrible, but the message was good, and obviously.
It's interesting, because sometimes when you think about content, the content that you think will do well absolutely crashes and burns.
Yeah.
And the content you think will just not take off at all is the one that ends up taking off, and then you kind of just like what happened in that particular video that caused it to go absolutely
100%.
crazy versus some other ones. But I think it's just purely timing sometimes, and a little bit of content as well.
Yeah, it was that whole starving crowd thing. I remember I made a video once about why there was this egg shortage in New Zealand, and my sister that was working at the supermarket at the time during her uni holidays was just came home and was like, there's no eggs on the supermarket, this is why. I was like, oh, that's fascinating. So I just literally pulled up my camera and took a 2-minute video of why there was no eggs on the supermarket. And honestly, it's my third most viewed video, and I didn't sit down, didn't have any fancy backdrops, nothing. I was just sitting in my chair saying why. So if you've got something people want to know, then it'll do well.
How long? So you did the first video, the restricted drivers video.
Yeah.
From the moment that you thought about doing content to actually picking up the camera and recording your first video, how long was that lead time? Was it instant? Was it a couple of days? Or did you think about it for a long time before you actually committed to?
Well, to be honest, I downloaded the instant likes of TikTok when it first came out, probably 2 or 3 years prior to posting a video. And at that time, I liked the idea of posting content, but I really had no value to give anyone.
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
I really struggled to make content or put stuff out there if it's not giving people value. I'm like, what's the point? I'm not going to watch this. Why would they watch this?
Yeah.
So for a long time, it just didn't click in my head that I had any value to give.
Right.
And then the instant it did, which was when I was at my job, of course, with the big corporate, the week that I decided that it clicked in my head that I could give value and this audience would want to consume this content, I just made the video and then just got started.
Right. And then how did you commit to the frequency? Was it because of the feedback system that a lot of social media platforms have, which is the likes and the comments? Did that keep you going, or was it because you actually wanted to use it as a platform to grow your business in the future?
Yeah, I saw it as a platform to grow the business. And if you look at the biggest content creators in the world, usually the one thing they're doing better than you is just volume. So they're posting, a couple of videos a day, every day. And when you've got that sort of feedback loop and that volume, so the feedback loop's just like, you make minor improvements every video and they get better over time. And then on top of that, when you've got that volume of videos going out there, the chances of having like videos that do really well is also like exponentially higher. So you're just going to do better over time with higher volume.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's the consistency factor as well, which plays a huge part. And like you said, showing up every day, people just recognize you.
Yeah, that was I only got recognized when I started posting every day consistently.
Yeah. And it's also, people spend a lot of time on platforms like TikTok as well. So the chances of you showing up more than once is quite high if you post daily as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're constantly being seen and heard.
Yeah, 100%.
And you become the insurance guy.
Precisely.
People start their business, they come to you.
That's the theory.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
With that being said, did it have, when you did leave your job and you started Gerrards, did it have an impact on the business?
It's a really hard one to quantify because I never really ask for any, I never really have any call to actions on any of these videos. And the reason for that is just because I want to build, I'm going to be in this industry for a very long period of time. Like you're thinking like 20, 30, 40 years. So at the start, all I want to do is just build trust with my audience by giving them as max value as possible. I'm not going to ask for anything at all. And this is like a 10, 20 year thing. So over time, I'm just going to build the audience, build trust with the audience. And then by default, I imagine I will become the insurance guy.
Right.
And people will just come to me because who are they going to use for their insurance? So let's say you've been 18 years old when you first saw my video. Now you're 28 starting a business. During that entire period of time, you've seen my own videos pop up. You've got value from it. Who are you going to use? Are you going to use me or are you going to use the guy that runs one billboard every like 6 months?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, really.
It comes back to consistency.
Yes, it does.
Over and over again. What about your industry in general? Like, is it quite a common thing in your industry to be quite digitally focused or doing content, or are you kind of like the only one or one of the few?
So it's really not a big thing to be doing content in our industry. I mean, there's actually, to be honest, there's nobody else that does any content. There's one life insurance guy that's done quite well out of doing content, but that's separate to us. So in my industry, there's no competition. So effectively, I'll have a monopoly on the market.
Yeah.
By posting these videos.
Yeah. And you also have the first mover advantage as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is a big bonus because people always remember the first, in a way. And if you're the first in the industry, then you've got all of that market share to leverage.
You lap up market share while no one else is even competing for it.
Yeah. What are you doing now? Like you just mentioned that you've taken a bit of a pause on content on TikTok specifically. Have you replaced it with any other sort of content creation on any other platforms, or are you just going all in on ads?
So the only reason I paused the content creation is exclusively we moved office, and it's like this trying to set up and pack up and make these videos has become exponentially harder. But I'm actually building a new studio at the moment for exclusive content creation. So as soon as that's ready, which is in the next month, I'll be back to the daily cadence.
Right.
But that's the only reason I've stopped is purely just because it's like very, very inconvenient at the moment. And we've been trying to, in the business, increase our cash flow. So content's great, but it has a longer lead in time. So like 6 months, 12 months before you start to get like a lot of volume coming off the content.
Yeah.
And especially like on these younger platforms like TikTok and Instagram, it could be 5 years before these people have businesses.
100%.
And I mean, it's great. I'll capture them in 5 years, but like when you're first starting the business, like you need to get that cash flow up straight away. So content is great for the long term, but the ads are definitely great for the very, very short term. But as I said, content's still like the way to go because then you're going to have that monopoly in 5 years' time, but you just got to be patient.
100%. And I think they both kind of feed off each other. So you need organic content to build that authority and that trust before you can start running ads to some extent to leverage off that trust and credibility that you've built, and vice versa as well. You need to run ads to be able to then send people to your content in a way.
Yeah, they're definitely complementary to each other.
So they kind of work with each other in kind of a weird cycle.
Yeah,
which is quite cool. And that's what I'm finding with our business as well. Like we did organic content for a long time, and it had a big impact on the business. But then the next step was, how do you actually get more people to see the content that you create?
Yeah.
And that is to put some money behind it and to run some ads.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you're gonna get your studio set up the next month or so.
Yeah.
What kind of content are you thinking? Are you just gonna focus on carrying on with TikTok videos, sort of short form reels, or are you thinking about doing any other type of content?
No, I'm just all in on the short form content. You just got to look where the eyeballs are.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their Instagram reels, their TikTok, on YouTube Shorts. And the good thing about that is you make one piece of content, you can post it on every platform.
Yeah.
You
100%.
do. So for my time spend, that's definitely the most efficient way to do content.
Yeah.
It is. So I'm just going to keep doing what I know.
Now the other thing you're quite bullish on is SEO content.
Yeah.
What drove that to be a huge part of the business? Because you spent a lot of time creating SEO content.
Now, yeah, SEO I'm not bullish on for every business. I'm just bullish on for our business.
Yeah.
And specifically because I looked online, and you can do this if you're with your industry too. You can look online, you can see what your competitors are doing and how good they are at SEO.
Yeah.
So SEO is like your search engine optimization. So that's like getting your pages to number one on Google. So you can see, and like if you download something like SEMrush, which like shows you how what your keywords are. So let's say like I want to be number one in New Zealand for Ferrari insurance. So anyone wants insurance on their Ferrari and they Google Ferrari insurance, you want to be number one. Well, you can go on SEMrush, you can see, hey, the out of 100, it's only a 6 out of 100 in difficulty, which is really, really easy to rank number one for. And you can do that with you can look at all your industry keywords and be like, hey, how good are the people that are in our space at taking advantage of like search engine optimization and ranking number one? And if your scores are low, then you can say, hey, if I just put a lot of effort into this, then my pages are organically going to rank number one and we're going to get lots of traffic off that. And so with the insurance industry, even as a small business, our competitors are horrible at it. So we can compete with the largest corporates in New Zealand on it, just with a bit of time spent. And like tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney AI for image generation, all of those have just made it exponentially like speed up the process of creating great content. And with ChatGPT, like some people were like, oh, that's like Google doesn't like that content. It only doesn't like it if you literally just write me a blog on Ferrari insurance and you paste that in. Terrible. But if you actually look at what the consumer wants to know and break it down, then feed that in, then it'll actually give you some really great stuff you can put out there.
Yeah. And I've seen Ethan's prompts as well. They're like, 6-8 paragraphs long?
Oh, yeah, they're long. Yeah, a couple of pages, because you got to, really drill down into exactly what someone wants to know. Because if they read like the first couple of lines and it's not giving them anything valuable, that they're just going to click somewhere else. So that's my whole strategy. Just give the consumer value, and then they seem to pat back every time.
100%. Yeah. Big time. What's been some... So on the back of SEO content, have you actually seen results?
Oh, huge results in SEO. Our phone rings multiple times a day with inquiries about all sorts of things. And when our phone rings from an SEO inquiry, it's not like, hey, can we just like get a price? It was like they want to go ahead. Like they trust you. They've read your content. They know you're an expert. So then they're pretty much... you can't get a warmer lead than that.
Yeah. And SEO content is great for videos as well. Have you thought about, or if is this a plan in the future, to turn your blogs into videos that you can put on YouTube and you can leverage the YouTube SEO as well? Yeah,
potentially. Like it's all that whole game of like, what do you prioritize first? And I'm not sure, like for SEO on YouTube, how many people are Googling public liability insurance in New Zealand? I mean, I'll look into the data eventually, and if it's high, I'll make the videos. But if it's low, then you'd be much better just taking that time of spending it making TikTok content.
Yeah, gotcha.
Than you would doing that. So it's a possibility, but it just depends on what the data says.
So talking about data, what's your decision making process when it comes to creating the content, where it's TikTok videos or SEO content? Where does it all start? Like, do you solely look at the data first and then go, okay, this is worthwhile creating, or is it sort of just gut feel, or is it based on feedback that you get from the public?
Well, SEO is a really easy one because you can just see the data clear as day. This keyword gets this many searches. Do I want to rank number one for that keyword? Is that an industry we want to target? Yes. All right, make the page.
Yeah.
It's easy. With the things like TikTok and Reels, data's also like, to be honest, data's pretty important in those too, because if you make a video about something really niche, and you can usually see on like sites like Answer the Public how many like queries these things are getting. So if like you're making an insurance, like a video on like house insurance, it might be applicable to like 75% of the population, like be the people that have houses now or want them in the future. And you've got something valuable to say in the house insurance space, they're probably going to watch the video. Whereas if you make it on like electrician's professional indemnity insurance, there might only be 1 out of 1,000 people that actually finds that interesting. And you can see the data as clear as day, like how many people are searching for this. Out of the entire population in New Zealand, people have searched for this over the last 30 days has been like 10. So if you post a video, no one's going to watch it, and thus it's not going to get any organic traction, because if no one watches your videos to the end or watches most of them or engages with it, then the algorithm doesn't share it and you've just wasted your time. What's the point of posting a video if it gets 200 views and doesn't reach any of the right audience?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's all about that intentional approach to content creation instead of the spray it and walk away kind of thing.
Exactly.
You're hoping you're kind of hitting the right audience. And I think value is a big thing in content, because when you're putting out videos and people watch those videos, you're taking away time from people's lives.
Yeah.
So if you're not putting out valuable content, I feel like it's a disservice that you're doing to the audience that actually commits time to watching a video.
100%. And when you're posting a video, you're competing against like every other piece of content out there. So you're competing against a couple of fancy cars doing a drag race, a puppy like smiling or doing something silly. Like that's the sort of stuff you're competing against for their attention. So if you're not posting something valuable and that they want to know, they're just going to swipe to the next video.
Well, that's it. Yeah. But I think long term as well, like if you genuinely post valuable content, like you said, builds trust, builds credibility, and you automatically kind of become the go-to person for that industry or that niche.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is far more valuable than content that is kind of just here today, gone tomorrow. Yeah,
and I think the pivot this year will be probably building more like niche content. So like on platforms like LinkedIn, where I look at our business and I'm like, look, most of our target audience are on LinkedIn. So we're going to and that's like, LinkedIn's a great platform because if you post something and people like it, it organically shares it with a lot of people. So that's what we're going to target this year is, really trying to reach the people that do find us valuable.
Yeah.
It is like there is the TikTok stuff, which is the 5-10 year game. But if you want the results, I guess, a little bit sooner than that, and to reach the people a lot easier and a lot further forward in their careers, then LinkedIn will be the platform that we target. So
100%. Yeah. And I can safely say that for our business as well, for Dark Matter, the content that we put on LinkedIn is number one, our biggest lead generator.
You've done exceptionally well on LinkedIn.
By far. Yeah. It's kind of been our secret weapon for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. Because you notice a huge increase in results from just posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, like when we started posting content on LinkedIn, this was back in 2022, we were doing 1 or 2 videos that we can't remember, but we added like 60K to our bottom line that year.
Which is a huge amount for the
100%. And that's only like 2.5 years in business.
Yeah.
That we added 60K to our bottom line. My only regret with LinkedIn is I didn't keep going.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped.
Because you still see people come through from this day, don't you? From that content you posted 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of figured out the lead time on LinkedIn. So from posting a piece of content to actually getting a lead from it is about 9 to 12 months.
Yeah, which is an exceptionally long period of
time.
It's
a really long time.
But then the leads you're getting out of it like almost always convert, don't they?
100%. Yeah. And also the other thing is each time I post a video, we get 2 or 3 messages at least from people that have watched the video reaching out as well, either inquiring about services or booking in a discovery call or doing, just asking questions or doing something, which is valuable for me because for me to have those conversations is a touch point.
Yeah, true.
And if I can have those touch points, then I can start, it kind of sounds bad, but start, leveraging those interactions for a sale sometime in the future. Not that that's my intention, but that's kind of how LinkedIn works.
Yeah, 100%.
The more valuable your content is, the more people start to reach out and the more you start to grow your business on the platform. And I think it's a heavily underutilized tool as well, especially in the content space on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't get a lot of engagement like you'd think on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
so you get like 10 likes on your video, whereas like I could post a video on TikTok and get 20,000 likes. But the quality that comes through from LinkedIn is 10 times higher than the video that got 10,000 likes. 100%. The video that got 10 likes.
That absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like my worst performing video in terms of vanity metrics probably has like 3 likes or something and like no comments.
Yeah.
But it's probably been my biggest lead generator by far.
Amazing.
Yeah. Or at least biggest conversation starter by far.
Yeah.
And I'll get people that, I'll go to networking events and things like that, and people go, I'll watch your videos. And I go, okay, cool. Which one? So like, what's the most recent video you've watched? And they can actually answer back to me and say, this is the most recent one I've watched, and this is what I found interesting.
Oh, wow.
So I find that really fascinating about LinkedIn is that people they genuinely watch your content. They consume your content.
Yeah.
Even though they don't interact with it or engage with it, they do consume it, which is fascinating.
Yeah, because that was my belief for a long time, because I didn't post on LinkedIn for a long time. I needed to start posting a lot more. It was that very reason. I was like, if I post a video, like get 10 likes, like, whoa, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's not the case at all. Like, you need to get past the vanity metrics and just
100%.
Look at the results at the end of it.
100%. And the other thing about LinkedIn is you have to be intentional as well. So you have to be intentional with who you connect with. They kind of somewhat have to resemble your ideal customer profile. Because like you said, if you're not talking to the right people on LinkedIn, you're not really talking to anyone.
Yeah,
and the secret to LinkedIn is if you're talking to the right audience, that's what's actually going to open the doors for you.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Not just having tens of thousands of connections.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. The vanity metrics versus the results.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on with LinkedIn, because I think it's going to be quite a bit of a game changer for you guys.
Yeah.
From what we've been able to do.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see it as well. And like what I'll do is every video that performs well on these platforms, I'll then take it and then put ad spend behind it as well. Because like there's no better test than putting a piece of organic content out there and people like automatically engage with it, start conversations around it, and then you can really supercharge that with a bit of ad spend as well. So.
Have you, just out of curiosity, from your content, have you been asked to speak at events or give talks or presentations?
Yeah, a few little ones, not heaps yet, but
yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more of those in the future, because it's generally just something I enjoy talking about.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard at the moment because a lot of people still aren't seeing the value in it.
Yeah.
In content, especially with businesses producing content.
Yeah.
So I'll go and talk to like a group of 20, 30 people, and they come away and go, "Wow, that was great," but they still won't do anything about it.
Yeah, see, that's what I find fascinating. I absolutely find that fascinating, because like for us, the biggest, like I said, our biggest lead generator is content on LinkedIn especially, and the stats are something like I think 1% of users on LinkedIn actually create content.
Yeah.
So that space is well open to be leveraged.
100%.
Especially in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So I just it kind of blows my mind that people aren't actually creating content.
Yeah, why do people not pull trigger in your experience?
Yeah,
just do it.
Well, a lot of it's actually fear of rejection. So putting out content and then people coming back and saying, "Oh, this is not right. That's not correct. Like you said this wrong. That's not okay. Blah blah blah." The other one is just fear of failure.
Yeah,
people
true.
Are just scared of failing. And the third one is like people are scared. Like perfectionism is a big one in content as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
Getting things perfect is probably the biggest roadblock that I find.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the opposite of my philosophy. Just put it out there and then just evolve over time.
My philosophy is done is better than perfect.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So you put something out there. If it works, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I think I posted about 150 videos before I started getting any reasonable traction.
Yeah. And a lot of the times you kind of have to start with quantity over quality as well.
Yeah.
You have to get stuff out there, get it moving before you can actually
because
dedicate time.
If you make a video and then you it's pretty average, but then you look at it and then you make a slight improvement to the next one, that's cool. And then you do that 100 times. Well, you look at the end result and you're like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like the changes. So even if you tried to make that first video perfect, you probably wouldn't even know how.
Well, that's it. Yeah. You just don't know where to start.
Yeah, you don't even know what the improvements are. You don't have the data to back anything up, etc. So what's the point?
And also the lead times as well. Like for us, like I said, LinkedIn takes about 9 to 12 months to get a lead from a video.
Yeah.
If you delay your start time by 6 months,
yeah, true.
you're delaying your first lead by 6 months, which means you're delaying the growth of your business by 6 months.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if it was up to me, my biggest advice would be just pull the trigger and get it done.
Yeah, agreed.
Start. Just yeah, jump on the treadmill and get running. The other question that I often get from people is, how do you actually create the content? So this is and you can go into as much detail as you want or as little detail as you want, but what's your process for creating content? Like, do you start off with research, scripting, or no research, just pull up the camera, get the video done? Like, is there a process that you go through, or?
Yeah, there's absolutely a process that you go through, because that's the process you can tweak over time to make things better. But it's not very advanced. So at the start, you just basically got to have an idea of someone. You just got to have an idea of value you can give to the audience. So I'm not sure what that be, but let's say like my first video, like, hey, there's a problem here. Lots of restricted drivers crashing on the restricted and getting into, tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. How can we prevent this? And then you go and you do your scripting. So you're like, well, you've got to make it interesting for the audience. So I've got to have some sort of line that gets them to watch the video. Because I mean, it's a little bit clickbaity, but when you've got that much value to give to the audience, and you know that it's going to make an impact on their lives, getting them to watch the video is like your obligation.
Yeah.
So that's basically the next step is definitely go and script your video. So all my videos are 30 to 60 seconds, so it doesn't take long. But over time, you learn what like hooks like sort of work. So you'll say this at the start, and that'll get the audience to watch. And actually, you can see graphs, so you can see the watch time graphs of where people leave your video. So you can actually tweak little bits of it over time. So eventually, you just have like sort of templated scripts of what to say, when to say it, and that's what engages the audience. So you got your script. And then the recording of it's really easy. So I just use my iPhone with an app called Teleprompter. It literally just comes up on the screen, scrolls, the words like just come down. You just say them as they come. You can alter the speed so you can say it a bit slower or faster. And it also records. So you can see your face, you can see the words, you just say it. And the quality's, I mean, reasonable enough that, 1 million people will watch a video on it. So
yeah.
You just got it. So then after that, it just goes and I just edit it. So that was another thing that I didn't really pay much attention to at the start, but I needed to pay attention to, because every second your video goes through, your audience has got to keep engaged with it. And as I said before, you're competing with all sorts of crazy videos about people doing like backflips and I don't know, racing cars and stuff like that. So you've got to keep their attention span. And you can do that super effectively by editing. So nowadays, my videos like don't stay on the same like camera angle or the same imagery for more than like 2 or 3 seconds at a time, because I found that if it's longer than like 3 seconds, you notice a huge spike in people leaving your video if you're just talking for like 3 seconds. So nowadays, I make sure as soon as I've recorded my video, I jump on like Adobe Premiere Pro, and I make sure that either I can zoom my camera angle in, because I've only got the iPhone, so you can just, even like a simple like zooming in when you emphasize a point from like act out, and then it just zooms in a little bit, is enough to keep people engaged with the content. So that little bit of dopamine they're getting in their brain from seeing that camera angle change is enough to keep them watching your video. So it makes a huge difference. Yeah, it's astounding.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. What's the future? Like, is content going to be a big part of your business going forward?
Yeah, so the future content's like going to be one of our biggest parts of our business. So as soon as the studio is built, we're going to double down on it. We'll probably end up employing someone full time to do it in the next year or two, and then just increase the volumes from there. So at the start, we're just going to do the Instagram Reels, the YouTube Shorts, the TikTok videos, and then the LinkedIn, and then we'll just try to get the quantity up to like a couple of videos a day eventually.
Yeah. And are you going to be, are you planning on being the face for all of those videos? Are you going to have different people doing different parts or different types of videos?
Potentially. At the moment, I'll just be the face of it because I'm the one that's okay with putting myself out there. I mean, I've tried to get my business partner to make them before, but whatever it is that he has, he's not keen on doing them and doesn't want to. And the other thing is like you've got to practice at them to get good. So with each of my videos, like since I've done so many now, and I know how to engage the audience, I can make a video, I'll record it, and then I'll look through and I'll be like, all right, so my tonality of my voice there is bad, etc.
Right.
And then I'll go through and I'll just record it a few more times and make sure like every pronunciation is like correct, or like the tone's correct there and the emphasis is correct there. So you get good at that by doing it. So it's quite hard to have other people come in and do your videos because they don't understand that same process.
Yeah. Or the same where the emphasis needs to be, or where the
exactly. Yeah.
So how long does that take then? Like if you're re-recording your videos quite a few times, the whole process for you to create one, say, 60-second TikTok video, like how much time do you spend?
Well, this is going to sound absurd to a lot of people, but like at least a couple of hours.
Right.
It is.
For
so like 120 minutes for one 30-second video. And the reason that's not absurd is purely the fact that, let's say you spend 20 minutes on each video and they're pretty average. So when you put it out there, you get 1,000 views on that video. And, the audience isn't super engaged. Whereas if you spend, that 2 hours, you edit it perfectly, you get it recorded perfectly, it sounds good, you pronounce everything correctly, your tonality's right, and then you put it out there, then it might get 100,000 views. So you've spent 6 times the amount of time making that video, but you've got, 100 times the impact.
Have you tested that? Like, have you looked at previous videos where it wasn't as polished versus the ones that you've done recently that are polished? And is there
that's when my views went from, 1,000 with the odd video getting like 20,000 based just on the starving man theory, where they just wanted to watch the content, went up to like 200 to 500,000 views a video just based on like learning those things.
What do you think was the catalyst for that growth? Because you've got a substantial amount of followers, a pretty respectable amount of likes on all of your videos. Yeah. Like, what would you say contributed to that growth? Was it the perfectionism to some extent?
A little bit. Well, just like the constant learning of like what to do better each video, and just learning what the audience like finds valuable. So just you combine those two together, of your videos like are exponentially better, people want to watch them, and all the tricks to get them to watch them. And not even really tricks, it's just like basically it's just things you need to do to compete with other videos from other genres on your platform. You need to have people, and to give them that constant dopamine hit. And then just giving people what they like, valuable stuff they want to learn about or want to know.
Yeah. Cool. So before we wrap up, if you were to give one piece of advice to someone, to a business owner, marketer, whoever it might be out there thinking about getting into content, what would be your one piece of advice?
Do it, and just do it. Just get started. That's the only piece of advice you got, because you're going to be awful in the start. You're not going to probably see results for the first 6 months, but no one else is doing it at the moment. So you're going to be the first in your industry, and you're going to get that monopoly. And hopefully with it, eventually for your business, like you'll probably end up getting the monopoly profits over like a 5-10 year horizon. So if you're in it for the long game, just get started now. The results will pay off undoubtedly.
100%. All right. On that note, that's it for today. Ethan, thanks for coming on board.
Sweet.
Lots of value bombs there, and I'm sure everyone will be jumping onto the TikTok bandwagon after this.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, we'll get you back in a year's time and see if LinkedIn made a difference to your bottom line.
Sounds like a plan, mate.
Good stuff.